This is the third video for November 3rd, November 4th. We're simplifying these trig expressions. And here, we want to add these fractions. But we should know that in order to add fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So similar to this problem, it would be really helpful if cosine would end up over here and 1 plus sine would end up over here. That'd be really helpful. So what we can do though, I'm going to rewrite the problem. And like I said, cosine, let's put it over here. So we can give that cosine. But if we're going to multiply our denominator by cosine, we have to multiply our numerator by cosine as well, which we can do because this is just 1. This here is just 1, so it doesn't change the value. If we do that, then our new our new denominator would become cosine x times 1 plus sine x. Our new numerator becomes cosine squared x. And then similar thing here, we have cosine, we want 1 plus sine x to be with it, so we can multiply numerator and denominator here by 1 plus sine x. Our denominator becomes cosine x times 1 plus sine x. And now in our numerator, we have to use the distributive property. So sine x times 1 would give us sine x. Sine x times sine x would give you sine squared x. Okay, so we do this to get a common denominator. We have our common denominator. And now since we have a common denominator here, we can add. And what we do that is we say we add our numerator, so this would be cosine squared plus sine x plus sine squared over, and our denominator doesn't change. So we have a common denominator, that stays the same. And so that's our new fraction. However, this is where we have to be better with our trig identities and get better where we don't need to use them. We know that sine squared plus cosine squared, if I add these two together, I get 1. So this is really 1 plus sine x, because cosine squared plus sine squared becomes 1, over cosine x times 1 plus sine x. And now if it helps, we can put that in parentheses. We have a quantity in our numerator, a quantity in our denominator. They divide out to be 1, so we are left with 1 over cosine x, which we know is secant. Okay. So this simplifies by creating a common denominator using our identity here. The same one we use here, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Sine squared plus cosine squared, 1. We can simplify and get secant. I'm going to do one more problem, and then I'm going to, you don't need to do this one, don't worry about that. I'll try to give you this solution. I'll just go through it and let you work through that. Let's talk about this one. Oh, and just cross it out. Anytime we see something squared, one of our trig functions squared and 1, we should automatically look at trigonometric identity. And so we have cosecant squared and 1. The identity that has cosecant squared and 1 is this identity. So it would be helpful to use this identity. For our numerator. Our denominator, it's already simple, pretty simple. Let's try to leave that as is. But here, I have positive cosecant. I want to get negative 1, so if I subtract 1 here, that's 0. Cotangent squared x is equal to cosecant squared minus 1. So this is what we have in our numerator. That's what we want, e equal to cotangent. And so we can replace our numerator here with cotangent squared x over cosine squared x and so what we can do here, an algebraic property that we can apply is that this is true. We can do cotangent squared x times 1 over cosine squared x. This here is like moving from this fraction and separating it is a very useful thing that we can do. And the reason that is because now we can write this as cotangent, we know, is cosine squared over sine squared. And multiply that by 1 over cosine squared. Now what we should notice here is we have a quantity in our numerator and denominator. These would divide out and give us 1. And we're left with 1 over sine squared x. And really the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So this becomes cosecant squared x. So that's what that would simplify to. Again, these aren't necessarily, there's no process. You have to think and problem solve. So if you have any questions on any of these, please feel free to email me. Please feel free to use the Remind app and ask. Yeah, that would be really good. Here, I'm going to encourage you to do this one on your own. I would change this one, change that to something that we know, change this to something that we know. Simplify, do all of that stuff that we know to do. But if you do that, this should only equal sine of x. That one should equal sine x. So I would work this on your own, but you know that should equal sine x. If you have questions, please feel free to email me, ask questions, come to me in class, get tutoring, all of those things so that you understand the contents.